If I think about defining moments, it probably goes back to a snowstorm on the M25 in the UK.
Welcome to the Phase 4 podcast, inspired by Vishen Lakiani and Ajit Nawalkar, co-founders of EverCoach, a division of Vine Valley. In this podcast, we speak to coaches and creatives about where they were, where they are, and where they are going. This is an intersection of what we focus on expands, and your story is your superpower. My guest today is Rebecca Thomas. She's a career transition and sabbatical coach, and today we're going to discuss that and a lot more. And Rebecca, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm definitely grateful. I love your website, by the way. And I kind of like to begin with just tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up here?
So if I think about defining moments, it probably goes back to a snowstorm on the M25 in the UK in November. So I'm originally from the UK, from a small little town on the southwest coast. And I fell into recruitment after university. So I took my 8 months, 9 months travel and did Southeast Asia and Australia and the rite of passage that most do with a backpack, and then fell into recruitment and had an amazing experience in recruitment and career in recruitment in the UK for about 7 years. But yes, got stuck on the M25 in a snowstorm for about 11 hours. It was like Armageddon. It was the weirdest, most surreal experience. And those 11 hours gave me time to reflect and think that there must be something better than this. And so when I got home the next day and went into the office, as the universe does, in my inbox was a job in Sydney to apply for. And I thought, that's it. That's what's better. That's where the sun shines. That's where there's no snowstorms. And so I applied for the job in Sydney and was lucky enough to secure that role. So my husband and I moved to Sydney and I was with the same company. So it was an amazing transfer and we emigrated pretty smoothly. And then another 5 years. So I'd been with the company 12 years. And I actually achieved my career-long dream of being promoted to director. So that goal was something that was like, kind of when I joined the company, that was what I wanted to achieve, and I achieved it. And then it was this really weird feeling of, it was amazing to achieve it, and I was super proud of myself. But there was something else, and I was like, oh, is this it? Like, is this what I'm going to do for the next 20, 30 years? I don't know whether I want to do this for the next 20, 30 years. We'd also had an amazing time in Sydney for 5 years, but I'm really close to my family in the UK still. And so there was this real pull of whether I wanted to go back to the UK and, whether I wanted to be closer to family. And so we were at this real crossroads. So what we did was we decided that actually let's just throw it all in the air and take a career break. Let's take some time. Like, both of our jobs were super busy and you can't really take the time to truly, kind of lean into what you want your next chapter to look like when it's the grind and the normal day to day. And so we took a career break. Originally it was going to be 6 months, but it ended up being 8. I think we extended to 8 or 9 months. And in that time, we decided that actually we were going to focus on what our next, chapter looked like. And what we did was we went back to the UK for a month to really sort of immerse ourselves back in the UK and see whether that's really where we wanted to be. It was quite evident after only a few weeks that it wasn't. The people and everything like that we loved, but actually, we'd kind of moved on and the weather is terrible and it wasn't where we wanted to be. We'd bought previously in 2008 a derelict barn in France. And so we also spent a couple of months over there we were like, do we still want this to be the dream, or do we want to sell it, or what part does this play? And we actually fell back in love with that area, and kind of questioned whether we could renovate the derelict barn and whether that actually could be a base for some of the year. And then we took some time out just traveling and really enjoying each other's company, reconnecting and spending time just dreaming big and throwing all of these kind of, I don't know, limiting beliefs and, societal norms out and going, right, what do we really want and what is important to us? And we basically came up with the fact that why do we have to live somewhere full time? Like, could we split our time between places? And what do we want to build life around? And so we came up with three kind of, I suppose, three values or three themes that we were non-negotiable. The first was sunshine, because we hate winter. The second was people, and we'd now created this life where we had amazing people that we loved in Sydney and this kind of, chosen family in Australia, and then also family and friends back in the UK. And then also, because of our expat life, dotted around the planet. We had people in Singapore that we loved, we had people in Hong Kong. So people, sunshine, and freedom. And the freedom to be able to travel where we wanted, the freedom to be able to do a job from wherever we wanted, and financial freedom. So those were the three things that we tried to, carve what the next chapter looked like around. And so we spent that time traveling, really dreaming about what that could look like. And then when we got back to Sydney, we put a plan into place to be able to get there. And really that was around my husband coming up with a figure of how much money we would need to renovate France without debt, and how much money we'd need as a runway to be able for me to shift career. And we came up with this money, this figure, this goal, and we reverse engineered how long it would take, and we decided 5 years. And so that's what we did. So we put the plan into place, and then 5 years post that career break, we exited, what you would call, I suppose, normal life in Sydney. And we now spend kind of April to November in France, where we see all of our favorite European people, and my husband renovates the house. And I transitioned to become a coach, and I'm now spending my time career transition coaching and sabbatical and career break coaching. So that's what we did. Then the rest of the year, we come back to Sydney to see all our favorite people in Sydney. And then we also do some travel, on the way over and then on the way back. So that's a little about my story.
All because of a snowstorm on the highway.
Exactly.
How much snow was there? That's what I want to know.
Oh, it was snowing.
Okay. You know why I did that?
To get off the highway.
I went to Ireland, I don't know, a long time ago, but there was the tiniest little bit of snow, and they weren't even going to land the plane, and the whole country was shut down, and they had actual farm tractors towing tractor trailers up the road. And so that's why I was just wondering if it was similar, but no, it doesn't sound like.
Well, I don't know. It's all relative, isn't it? For people who live with a lot of snow, there's probably hardly any, but we don't get it a lot.
Yeah, I'm in Canada, so we're good.
Yeah.
So 3 things: people, sunshine, and freedom. So there's a little clue in there for everyone, is once you figure out your values, then it's a lot easier to align your life. Is that how you felt about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I now work with people on, to really explore what's important to them, what's their non-negotiables, what do they want to build life and a career around as well, because the career is such an important part of life and our world. So it's about, I think a lot of people unintentionally, I certainly did, stumble into a career and stumble into life. I don't know, you go through this maybe societal blueprint of you do really well at school, you go to college, you then get a job, you settle down, you have a family, and it's this whole, actually, I think somebody asked me the other day what my purpose was, or what I wanted my legacy to be. And I don't have children. It was a very intentional choice early on. And somebody actually said to me, you don't have children, so what's your legacy? And I thought, oh God, I don't actually know. And after thinking about it, I thought, do you know what I want my legacy to be, is that I kind of offered individuals the space to be able to dream big and not have to live this life that they think they should have to live. And that in particular, the amazing girls in my life who I like to see myself as a bit of a guide for, so my goddaughter and my nieces, that actually they can see that it doesn't have to just be one way. There's lots of different ways that you can live, and you can go and prototype one life and live it for a bit and then change up. And it just doesn't have to be this one blueprint that I think society for so long has just kind of encouraged us that's it.
100%. There's a saying from Jim Rohn that we become like the 5 people that we hang around the most. And I think oftentimes we do it to ourselves with that saying. We're like, okay, we're just in this environment. And so my family, a couple of friends, but it doesn't actually have to be like that. Like you're saying, you could go and find those people online and emulate them. And who inspires you? What did they do? Why do they inspire you? Can you do that? Why not? These kind of things.
Yeah. And Brene Brown talks about your reference pool. And I think that is like such an important part, is expand your reference pool. We only know what we only know. And if you're only surrounded by your reference pool and you're not listening to different podcasts or reading different books or experiencing different cultures and experiences, then your reference pool is super small.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell us a bit more about your coaching. I know you said how you love to help individuals, but tell us about it, what it would look like.
So there's 2 parts to my coaching. The first is the career transition coaching. So that is for anybody who is in a position where they know they don't love what they do. They're kind of getting up in the morning and thinking, oh gosh, I've got to go to work, or I don't want to be doing this for the next 20, 30 years, or I don't love my job, but they don't know what they want to do. They've never actually, explored what lights them up, what parts of the job they love, what they want to spend the next, chapter doing. And they also don't know how to get there. So I coach individuals through actually a program and activities to uncover what they actually love, their values. We do a lot of values and strengths-based work, and then look at how to actually leverage that and get to designing a chapter that they're excited to jump out of bed in the morning for. So that's the career transition piece. And then I also do sabbatical and career break coaching, and that is around mindset prior to the career break. So if people are on the fence or they've been thinking about it for a long time but just haven't had the courage, or there's some kind of blockers to them not just taking the plunge. So coaching around actually getting to them to the point where, yes, they're ready and they're going to actually make a plan and make it happen. And then a program that takes them through the career break. So looking at very much the why they want to take it. What I find is a lot of people have thought about taking a career break. And again, it's this societal or cultural pressures of what they should be doing. So they think, oh, I'm going to take a career break and I'm going to climb Kilimanjaro, or I'm going to go and walk the Wall of China. I'm going to do all these like amazing, challenging things. But actually, if you strip back the layers of the onion and the why, they actually don't need that. They need to, I don't know, rest and be in nature and recover from burnout, or they are missing family if they're expats. So it's about spending time with family. So it's actually about uncovering the why and then making sure that the career break solves for that why. I think I've seen a lot of people take a career break, come back, and life is exactly the same, and then suddenly it just becomes this long distant memory that's like a holiday within 2 weeks of them being back to work, and none of the transformation and change is then integrated into life beyond. So we do a lot of work on what they can do on their career break, but then also integrating the experience back into life so that it really impacts the next chapter.
Yeah, I love that. And so someone, even if you're not burnt out and you're totally aligned right now, you can understand this example by you go to a conference, a seminar, a workshop, you feel so inspired to change. And then a week later you get home and everything's kind of back to the same. And
you haven't looked at your notes. You've taken all these amazing notes and then look at them Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I love this. The first time you were talking, you said also that you guys reversed engineered it. And this is a huge tool for anyone. What's your life plan? What do you want? Oh, it seems so far away and so impossible to get. But is it? All we gotta do is reverse engineer it. And that example would be Elon Musk trying to go to Mars. How?
yeah.
Impossible, right? Well, first thing we need to catch the rocket. That was pretty cool, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. I listened to a podcast the other day. I'm just going to try and find it actually. And it was all about not sort of governing your present you and past thoughts and past, because actually that keeps you really small because you've only ever done what you've done. Whereas
Right.
actually it's around really reverse engineering present you on future you. So things that, goals might seem ridiculous, like going to Mars. And it might be huge. So you're sort of 10xing the goal. And of course, it seems unattainable. But actually, if you can do that and reverse engineer, you're never actually dictating present you on past you and past stories.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. Because there's a
I'll have
part
to
there where
send
you
you the
can't,
podcast.
the present you can't see you 2 years, 4 years, 8 years down the road, and you actually become a different person along the way. So the things you can't do today that seem so far away, you start doing them on your way. Marathon's the easiest example for that one, man. You just today you can't run a marathon, but you go walk 1 minute, you walk 2 minutes, 20 minutes, 40. Eventually you can do it because you become a different person on the way to your dream.
Yeah, and if you're sensible, I definitely couldn't have done it without my coach. But you get someone to help you, and you get a coach to help you. I years ago did the Uluru Marathon, so around Ayers Rock, Uluru, and it was it was based on one of my really good friends' dad had motor neuron disease, and I would do something every year to raise money for MND. And I had actually climbed Kili one year, and I'd then seen him post the climb. And he said, "What are you going to do for me next year?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know." He said, "What do you hate doing?" I said, "I hate running. Like, I can't run. I'm not a runner. I've never been a runner. I hate it." And he said, "Right, you're going to run me a marathon." Anyway, he bloody died like 3 weeks later. And so I thought, oh no, I'm going to have to run this marathon. And so I was like, right, what do I need to do to run a marathon? Because I couldn't even run 5K. So I employed a coach. She was amazing. And within 20 weeks, I'd run Uluru Marathon. She'd broken it down so well into these incremental goals each week and actually, doing all of the different types of training and the different types of run and everything like that. And yeah, did it. So you're right. And I never would have thought that I could run a marathon. And then you look back and you're like, yeah, did it.
What else can I do?
Yeah, anything, anything. The podcast is Reframe Your Brain, Set Goals That Scare You, and Get What You Want. And it's online marketing made easy with Amy Porterfield. But it's a brilliant example of those unobtainable goals and how you reverse engineer that and future you. Oh, I can't hear you.
I see Amy Porterfield pop up on my Instagram quite a bit, so maybe it's time for me to go a little deeper there.
There you go. I'll send it to you.
I have a question. So burnout can manifest in different ways for different people. So how do you help clients identify the early stages of burnout before it becomes overwhelming?
So I think that's all about being able to really understand where your center is. So I work with clients to really identify what their center is and where they feel the best and what that center feels and looks like to them, and then identify how far, out of the center they are. It's an interesting question because actually, and I can think of two examples where I've actually declined working with individuals that are burnt out because I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a doctor or anything like that. And after a sort of discovery call with them, I felt as though they needed more help and they needed to solve for the burnout more so. And once they have, once they're ready to look forward and actually are in a healthy state, then actually I can work with them. But it's really hard to, well, I'm just not qualified, right, to work with individuals that are so far in that state. But it's very much around really knowing yourself and knowing your center and knowing where that is, and having the tools to then be able to identify when you're outside of that center and be able to pull you back. And the tools differ for everybody, you know, like there's this big sort of meditation and breath work and, you know, health phase at the moment, but sometimes that just doesn't work for people, or they don't want to be doing that. And actually it's as simple as finding what works for you. And if that's putting your favorite movie on and just blocking everything out, or if that's simply going for a walk in nature, or, you know, along the seafront because that's where you feel your best, or that's what brings you back to your center. It's about finding what those things are and then having those tools to be able to bring you back to the center.
Yeah, 100%. Sometimes distractions are necessary, and if that takes, like you're saying, watching a movie or binge watching a show just to get through that point, that's totally okay and necessary sometimes.
I think lots of people haven't taken just space and time to know what they love doing.
No one's ever asked them the question.
No. And most of the time, the irony is it's free. You know, most of the time, what genuinely makes somebody really, it's like, I've got a client, and for her, it's not having the kids say, Mom, 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 Mom. It's actually going and finding a spot and reading for half an hour. It's free, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you said earlier, there's always a why underneath the original why, and then that's it. Like, oh, I need money or need space or need time. But it's, yeah, you don't actually need the money all the time. I would love to talk about feel good getaways. I saw this website and it's like such a novel idea. It's very intriguing delivery method, and it, to me, it almost sells itself. And especially now that you're mentioning the part about different regions of the world and seasons change, it could go all year round almost.
Yeah, so Feel Good Getaways is the overarching business. So within that is career transition coaching, sabbatical and career break coaching. I also trained as a travel coach. So to be able to really support individuals through the why of their travel and what they want to get out of their travel. So that plays nicely into the career break and sabbatical piece if they're going to travel. I mean, it's not part of everybody's career break travel, but if it is, then it's very much about looking at the where of the place. You know, why do they want to visit that place? What do they want to get out of it? What do they want to feel when they're there? How are they going to attain that feeling? And then also in there is my podcast, which is Sabbatical Stories. And that's where I interview amazing individuals that have had career breaks and sabbaticals, and their story along the way, you know, the motivations for taking the breaks, what they did on the breaks, top tips that they have for anybody looking to take a career break. And we've just finished season 1 and had some amazing guests on there.
That's awesome. Is there like one overarching issue that you always keeps coming back where people need this break? And like, was there something maybe that they could have even done beforehand? Or I'm not sure if I'm saying it right.
Yeah, no, you are. And yes, there is. And I think it's intentionality. I think if I was to look at all of we've just started series 2 as well. So if I'm to look and think about all of the stories that we've, you know, I've been witness to, and also all of my clients that I've coached through and am coaching through, if there had been a real period of looking internally and being very intentional about what they want to do for their career and what they want to get out of their career, how they want to feel, and also then periods of time along the way that they carve out to be able to do that and kind of review. So I don't know whether it be every 5 years or every 3 years, whatever kind of works. But to have that review to be like, okay, is this still fulfilling me? Am I still loving it? What part of the role do I love? What part don't I? How can I change it? What else do I want to be doing? So it's that intentionality. And everybody who I've spoken to has fallen out of love with their job, or there's just something that's not fulfilling in their career or life or job. So I think it's around that intentionality. If we could encourage and teach youngsters coming out of college or school actually, what their true values are, and they'll change, of course they will. We go through, as you said, seasons and chapters in life, but it's about being intentional and then reviewing along the line, and then being intentional at each of those periods of time throughout life and reviewing it, to then be able to not get to a point where you're not fulfilled, or where it just becomes mundane and it becomes, you fall out of love with it. So that's, I would say, the main common theme. And what's interesting is I had a lady the other day, and I had never thought of it like this, but she said she took her career break, and in hindsight, she did it wrong. So there would be lots of different things that she would do differently. And the reason behind that is because she felt it was running away. And what she didn't solve for was the why. So she was totally unfulfilled in her job. She was bored, basically. She'd done it. She was on autopilot. And she took this 6-month break thinking that, things would change. And then she went straight back into the same job, same company. She was there for 4 years. So from the company position, it was a great retention tool. But she was still bored. She was still unfulfilled. And it took her 4 years then to make a change. So it's about that solving for the why, I think, is the most important thing.
That's awesome. What I'm hearing is like you can't just leave, take a break, and think that will fix anything. You still have to do some work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about doing the work. And I think that's what a lot of people haven't done. And life gets in the way.
Life be life, and that's what the guy told me one time. Sometimes life be life. And
yeah.
as this episode winds down, if this resonates with you, please like, subscribe, share, and reach out to Rebecca. We're going to leave all her links in the show notes. But Rebecca, I ask everyone this. This is the Phase 4 podcast, and Phase 4 in the 6-phase meditation by Vishen Lakhiani is all about creating your future 3 years from now. So where is Rebecca Thomas 3 years from today?
So 3 years from today, I genuinely hope that I have a kitchen in France. My house is renovated because at the moment I'm cooking on what looks like a doll's cooker. So 3 years today, the house in France will be renovated. I won't feel as though I'm living in a building site, and my business will be going from strength to strength. And actually, it's interesting you ask, because we have got a date in the diary in 3 years' time, to actually do what we did on our career break again, and really reassess the next chapter and look at what that looks like, because we are 3 years through a 6-year plan of renovating the house in France and living the life that we do right now. And we made a commitment that we would put time in the diary after 5-6 years to then go, okay, what now? My husband won't be as committed to the house and renovating the house. So what's going to keep him occupied? And where does my business go from here? How do I scale? At the moment, when we're in France, I'm his laborer for 3 days a week. So I, I'm not working. And so it's then like, oh, I've got all this time, and what do I want life to look like? So 3 years time, I have a kitchen. I have a lovely, deck overlooking the valley, and it'll all be done and beautiful.
That is beautiful. So you had a 6-year plan. 3 years into it, you kind of review it. Another 3 years of looking at it. One time I heard somebody say a human being, every 7 years, except for our organs, every 7 years, everything's different. All our skins, everything like this. And so if you go back through your life, 7 years old, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, and you see pictures, I never, and then I was like, wow, exactly what I said. So 6 years, 7 years, same thing, but great idea.
Yeah. They say your taste buds change, don't they, after 7 years? And there's always that saying of the 7-year itch if you're in a relationship.
Somebody knows what they're talking about then. I think So this is like the end of the year, the beginning of the year, and it's also a 5-year gap from 2020. We're going into 2025. We're just started. Um, man, I remember going into 2020, and I remember
Yeah, me too.
Oprah Winfrey talking about how this decade was going to be the decade, and then 2 weeks later, it was like, "Stay at home, don't move, put on a mask." And so now we're coming up 5 years, and there's something for me. I do the same thing you're saying. I do like 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 8 year. Obviously, I have other goals for 20, 30 years down the road, but these are the ones where I'm trying to get granular. And I think it's a good time right now because we're going into the next 5 year period. So 5 years from now, it's going to be 2030. So what do you want to do in the next 5 years? And it's all about planning. I guess what's happening right now is I'm projecting when I'm seeing clients, we're doing all the planning, right? And so what kind of tools or how would you help somebody right now, just listening to this audio, to prepare for the next 5 years or something? What can they do? Is there one thing in particular? I'm sure there's tons, but
I think I'd call out two things. The first one is visualization. It's super powerful. And so really finding time to be in a quiet, relaxed space and actually have a guided visualization. So I find it really hard to do on my own. So I always use a guided visualization. And it's about then really dreaming what that, 2030 version of you looks like, feels like, and you start to really visualize that. And then on a smaller, more tangible scale, what I have and what I do religiously every year is I have a vision board. So I break down my kind of 5-year plan into just the year, and I use Canva, and I put all of these different images and words and things together, and I have it on my computer screensaver, and I also have it on my phone screensaver. So every day, even subconsciously, I'm looking at it and I've got all of my goals there for the year. And then, for every quarter or so, I look and I'm like, okay, what have I not got to? Like, for example, one of the ones this year is volunteering. I wanted to do something to give back and volunteer. I still haven't done it. It's December, right? So I need to have my finger out. But it's just keeping you accountable for your goals. So vision boarding is super powerful. And then alongside the vision boarding, is then a meditation that I do to be able to step into that vision and into that vision board for the year.
yeah, that's brilliant. It's so important. That's what that phase 4 question I asked you. It's all about that, right? So you go out into the future, you put it out there, and then it helps you to go towards it. And meditation helps as well. The more you practice that same visualization, then more details start to come in, and then it becomes more real. Then you start to notice in your life, oh, this is the thing I was kind of asking for 3 years from now. This will help me to get to there.
Yeah, manifestation is so powerful. And I actually still listen to a manifestation meditation that I found when we were traveling. So that is now, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And I still, when I feel like I need to, or I, need a bit of a kind of boost from a visualization and manifestation, I listen to that meditation. It's so powerful.
And so you just said about the visualization, the vision board that you have, and that it's there. You can see it all the time. Robin Sharma calls it a brain stamp, where you're just seeing it and it's like brain stamping every time. But what I want to know, and what I would like, actually, I already do know, I want to share with our audience how much of that vision board has come true from a couple years ago.
I would say 80%. 80%. And I found, actually, and this was through COVID, we actually, because we were all at home and we were doing stuff online, I did a session, and we did it all out of magazines, and actually, not
Old school?
not on, yeah, old school. But I'd obviously taken a photo of it, and I found that recently, and I looked at it and I was like, oh my goodness, this actually looks and feels like my life now. And that would have been probably 4 years ago, maybe now. So yeah, I would say 80% of it is I'm living and breathing it.
And that's another one Steve Jobs said, right? You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you look at this picture and you're like, oh my God, I forgot
Oh,
all
wow.
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm with you. The reason I asked that question because I knew it was going to be a high number like that. And then possibly the other 20% are either coming on their way, the time wasn't right, or they're just so big you still have to grow a little bit to get there. But
absolutely. The kitchen's on there. The kitchen's on there. It's not there
there
yet.
you go. Right. So it's so important is I guess the message for that one is
Yeah,
I guess before I ask my final question, I always let the guests kind of take it wherever they want. So if you have something to sell, sell it. If you have a message of hope, inspiration, whatever it is, or both, just take it away.
I think my message is simply it doesn't have to be as somebody's told you it needs to be or should be, or society tells you this is how you need to live life. You can absolutely, I fundamentally believe, design your own life. And by using the tools and a coach, you can seriously visualize what you want to life to look like and reverse engineer it. And anybody can do it.
I love this. This is like right up my alley. So I'm wondering now, what are some books that you read that help you get to think that way? Because not everyone thinks that way.
So I think for me, probably the three key books that helped me on my journey. One is The Lion Tracker's Guide to Life by Boyd Varty, which is probably my most gifted book that I have given to lots of different people. The second one is Ikigai. And for me, it was a real light bulb moment when I actually went through the whole process of finding my Ikigai. And I think there's a high performance podcast that I listened to first about it. And then I was sort of went down a rabbit hole and bought the book. But that was life changing for me. And that was where I came up with actually career transition coaching and sabbatical and career break coaching, because my background is all recruitment. So I've got 20 years, recruitment experience. So looking at my, my experience, my strengths, but parts of the job that I love, what the world will pay for, all of that, it was so obvious then to me what my next sort of chapter of career would be. So Ikigai was a light bulb moment for me. And then the third one is actually by a lady called Jill McLaren, and it is Think, Plan, Live. And it's very it's really got a lot of tangible, actionable activities in there. And she is, for me, I'm quite prescriptive. I need to work through something and it be quite formulaic. And she is the ex-strategy director for Coca-Cola for APAC. So she's got a real strategic mind. It's very methodical. And her story is that she was sat at a conference listening to this panel discussion, and they asked, are you living your best life? And she said, I had everything. And she had an amazing family. She had a mega job. She was living the expat life, but she was like, am I living my best life? No, actually, I don't think I am. And so she then took her strategic brain and was like, right, what would my best life look like and how do I get there? And then this book is incredible around giving you activities to do, either on your own or with a partner or family, and actually working through then around designing your best life.
All right. Absolutely love it. Ikigai is a Japanese concept, if anyone doesn't know, and it means life's purpose. And so Iki means life, Gai means reason, and Ikigai. So go check it out. And it shows you this beautiful it's a picture. It shows you how to balance all the different parts of your life to kind of get that highest life, like that lady was, hey, did that happen? And then obviously introspection. That lady had a question. Hey, wait a minute. I could do better than I want. So I love it. I know I already said last question, but is there anything else before I ask my last question?
No, I think we're good. Thank you.
All right. So my last question is always, how can people reach you?
So the best way is probably LinkedIn. I'm Rebecca Thomas on LinkedIn, and that's where most of my community hang out. My website is www.feel-, getaway, feel good getaway, sorry. And I'm on Instagram as Bexy Brown or as Sabbatical Stories, which is the podcast.
Amazing. We're going to put all those in the show notes. And Bex, Rebecca, I'm so grateful for your time today. Thank you so much.
It's been brilliant. Thank you so much.